Today we're going to learn how to operate a triaxle truck with a snow blade and a salt spreader bed in the back of it. So the first thing we're going to do is walk around the truck. The first thing to do is always check that the blade is securely attached and the clips are in the pin. So here's the pins and the clips. Confirm they're there. Always make sure this chain is attached with clip pins in it. Make sure all the hoses are connected. These machines operate off a front hydraulic pump. There's a shaft in there that spins. Always keep your hands back from any spinning shafts. As we walk toward the back of the truck, perform your normal inspection on a truck. You're going to make sure all the tires are in check, make sure all the bolts are checked, there's nothing hanging off of it. The first thing we do on the salt portion is we always look at the gate and we make sure it operates upward and downward by utilizing this handle. If there's no salt loaded into the bed or knack loaded into the bed, we always open the gate up some. And then when we get in the cab, the first thing we're going to do is come run the chain and the spinner to confirm that nothing is, the chain operates before we ever put any material in the bed. We always make sure that we run the chain to make sure everything is operational before we load it, because once we load it, you can't get the material back out of the bed. These settings here indicate the different heights of these indicate what your pattern is. As you can see here, this is set up so it throws it to both sides. We always confirm that the bed is properly attached in the back of the bed of the truck. These are the hydraulic lines that run the hydraulic bed. Always make sure they're securely attached and make sure that they're attached going up the side of the truck. As we check the front of this, we always check the front of the blade to look for uneven wear. We're looking at this rubber across the front, seeing how it's worn and making sure it's not getting in down to the steel of the moldboard of the plow. You'll need to check these 3 to 4 times during your shift. The next thing we're going to do is get in the cab and turn the lights on, and we're going to perform a light test as we walk around. We turn the lights on, we're going to make sure that all the lights and marking lights are all operational. Make sure the rear lights and flasher lights are all working. Always make sure that the tarp is securely undone prior to being loaded. So if the tarp is on the driver's side, it is open. If the tarp is on the right side, it is closed. So the switch to operate the tarp is right here. Simply turn it to the right. It covers the load. In order to open it to load, turn to the left. It does that. Prior to tarping the load, always make sure you get back from a distance and double check there's no large clumps or anything that's going to break the tarp when the arm comes over. A spotter is a good thing to have when you're utilizing the tarp for it to come over. There is grading on top of the salt boxes that prevents large clumps from going down in the box. Always make sure that the large clumps are cleared from the top of the grading, and make sure nobody is around during the loading operation. Utilize the loader to help with seeing any clods that need to be taken off prior to tarping the load. Never climb on the truck. If you need to get a clod off of the truck, utilize a roll-around staircase and a concrete rake in order to rake off the clods. Never climb on the truck to get the clods off of the top of the truck. Next, we're going to do the in-cab section of this, demonstrating how to operate the truck. Always utilize 3 points of contact when getting into the truck. Shut the door. Put your seatbelt on. Always confirm that the gear shift is in neutral. If you look right here, it shows the gear pattern in the truck. The newer trucks have the yellow switch on the left side that is forward and reverse. They have a forward and reverse switch on the side of the handle. The front switch is the high and low range. So always check the gear pattern. But the yellow switch on the side is forward and reverse. The front switch is high and low range. So we'll always make sure that we're in forward and that we're in low range. We double check that it's in neutral. We double check that the air brakes are set. Pulling the knob out engages the brakes. So the parking brake is currently set. So the next thing we're going to do is press the clutch in. I always keep my foot next to the brake. Turn the ignition on. Start the truck. Double check it's still in neutral. We're going to wait and make sure the air builds up. Make sure the air gets up around 100 to 120 pounds. Once the air is built up, the first thing we're going to do in order to check this stop box out is we're going to turn the chain on and the spinner on. One thing to always note is before you turn the spinner on, you always look and make sure no one is around you, because if there's anything laying on that spinner, it will be thrown out and hit somebody in the leg or somewhere else. So these trucks are equipped with a live PTO. And with a live PTO, it means you do not have to engage a power takeoff like you would to raise a bed on a dump truck. They are live all the time. The only thing you have to do to turn the spinner and spreader, both the box on, is push this lever down. You will hear fluid going through it. These adjustments here on these knobs adjust the speed of the spinner, and it says spinner here. It says auger. Auger is your chain. So, as I spoke about earlier, we always, before we load it, we're going to go make sure the spreader, the chain's working, and the spinner's working. So, confirm it's in neutral. The parking brake is still set. I'm ready to get out and go check to confirm before we load anything that the tarp's open, chain's going, spinner's going. We're watching to make sure this chain is operational. It's turning, and it's bringing material going the right direction. It's bringing material back to the spinner to fall down the spout, and the spinner is spinning. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in the truck, turn the bed off, and then we're going to come back and we're going to set the gate height. Turn the bed off, get back out. Now we're going to set our gate height. We're basically going to lower this gate all the way down, so the only thing to get through it would be the very end of your little finger would be a proper gauge. So really tight. Pretty well as low as it goes most of the time, so it can barely get any material out. Generally just about the size of your little finger. Most of them have a rubber flap on them that we utilize to help keep it even lower. The material we'll put it on is very fine and it doesn't require much, so always set them pretty low. And make sure that when you're spreading, that if you've already spread an area, to make sure you turn it off in that area, or if somebody else has previously spread that area. This material we're spreading is around $25,000 a triaxle load. So leaving your spreader on for long periods of time in an area where we don't need it is wasteful and costs everybody a lot of money. Now that we have our gate set on our spreader, and we've already checked that the chain is operational and the spinner is operational on our box, we checked that our tarp is open. We're preparing now to go get loaded with knack or salt. So the next thing we got to do is raise the blade up on the front of the truck. The blade operates on the same central hydraulic system that the bed does, so there's no need to turn on a PTO like we would to dump a dump truck. This is all central hydraulic system. So to do this, they should always be live. There's a joystick in the center of the truck, and we should be able to pull back on the lever that lifts the snow blade up. And just for operational purposes, if you move the lever to the right, it angles it to the right. And if we move the lever to the left, it moves it to the left. What we want to remember is that we never ever back up. Never ever back up with a snow blade down. In order to back up, we've always got to lift the blade up. The other thing is we don't want to run the blade at the max angle that it can run. So if we're plowing, we can go about 3/4 of the max of where it goes. It reduces the wear on the blade. The other thing is once you plow one direction for about 2 hours, always try to get everybody on the ramp to rotate and go the opposite direction so we don't wear all the blades out on one side. A lot of blades, not this one, are equipped with tires for gauge wheels. We always need to make sure that those tires are staying up and that the bearings are all good in them. So getting out every hour and checking your snow blade and checking your wheels and your tires is very, very important. Checking for wear, checking for bearings, checking for tires is very important. When we're plowing snow on the ramps, remember everybody that is plowing needs to plow the same direction. Generally, it works good to have 2 or 3 plows working together, and they usually stay about 200 feet apart from each other. And also, it's nice if the plows can plow it, and then the brooms bring the windrow over until it gets so heavy. Then the plows can pick up that windrow and take it on across. Once you've completed your plowing and spreading operation, we take and to park the truck, we take and put the blade on the ground. We confirm the spreader is off with the lever up, and then we confirm that the gear shifter is in neutral. Once the gear shifter is in neutral, we confirm that the air brakes are pulled out and engage the brakes in order to set the parking brake. At that point, then we're able to turn the key off and exit the machine. Thanks for watching. This has been a tutorial on how to operate a triaxle truck with a snow blade on the front and a salt spreader on the back.